Hey there, Internet. My name's Luxander, and at the beginning of every video, I don't know if you've noticed this, there's this thing that pops up in the corner of the screen over here that says my name and my pronouns on it. And for a while, it said my name is Luxander, and I use AM or they/them pronouns. It's basically just like they/them, but you take the TH off the beginning, so EY, EM, you get it. Those are pronouns that are called Spivak pronouns that I was trying out for quite a while. I have now moved past it, and that's what this video is kind of about, because I changed this thing over here. It's gone now, but I've changed it recently to where now, some of you have noticed, it says they/them or its. And I did notice that some of you were asking about that and were curious about me making a video to talk about it. So despite the fact that for the large part I am probably going to be doing a lot of streams lately, like I said earlier this week, as of recording this, I am not planning on totally abandoning prepared content. So this was something I noticed from you all that you wanted to talk about and hear about a little bit more. And I'm here to tell you why I am using its pronouns, why that, basically. To be totally honest, I have gone through some various gender feelings over the past, I don't know, I would say like really it's started becoming noticeable within the past 6 months maybe, which like having new gender feels pop up after like 12 or 13 years of being like aware and out about being trans, like the time between my becoming aware of it and coming out was pretty short. So it's really annoying actually to still have so many gender feels happening, but it's entirely possible that I've crossed the final hurdle with this, okay? I made a video in the past talking about how I am specifically genderqueer, like that has been the label that I've used for the past like 12 years to describe my quintessential gender. So very broadly, transgender, and then transmasculine to describe the fact that like my transition has been masculinizing, like my physical transition has been masculinizing. And then under transmasculine, I'm also non-binary, and then even more specifically than that, genderqueer. I've used terms like genderqueer and queer to describe my sexuality because I get really annoyed with trying to really pin down each individual element of my identity. I find it just a lot more freeing to say, like, generally I fall under this cluster of things, but, you know, as far as like narrowing it down to the details, like that has just pretty consistently for me been a very unattractive aspect of identifying as trans. There is a regard in which my identifying as genderqueer was a way for me to sort of stake a claim on all of the gendered territory, so that anything I did as far as like gendered behaviors or expressions or medical transition, I wanted to be able to do any of the things that I wanted to do without any specific pressure regarding gender, right? Like, I am like metaphysically not binary, right? But how I choose to like go with that has been influenced by a number of different pressures. So my idea, I guess, with identifying as genderqueer was like, I am a gender fuck. I am going to describe the fact that my feelings are nebulous and wonky with this word queer. I guess it's fair to say that I don't identify as genderqueer anymore as of right now. As of like, I've been mulling it over for a period of time, and then like really this week it became obvious to me that I was thinking of other terms like gender void or something like that. Like, I have a lot of gender feelings, or I have had a lot of gender feelings, and I'm ready to just kind of shed that. Like, I said this on a stream recently. I said, I've had a lot of gendered thoughts and feelings. I just don't want to entertain them anymore. Which sounds kind of funny. So basically what that comes down to is like, I really do feel like I don't care as much about, I mean, I've always not cared about the specific gender label, right? But at this time, I don't actually care about claiming a gender. Like, I'm kind of like ready to reject that in my life, I guess. So basically, I've started using the term agender, right? We are getting to pronouns, I promise. I've I decided this week basically like, no, I am agender. I know some people use it to mean they don't have any gender feelings or whatever. Like, for me, it's because I don't have one. Like, I don't have any genders anymore. Or maybe I haven't for a while. Like, something about using the label genderqueer didn't alleviate any of my sense of anxiety over feeling femme some days. As someone who was assigned female, I have struggled to embrace the fact that I do have a feminine aspect to myself because of social pressures within the trans community and everywhere else. But point being, it's been it didn't alleviate any of that stress for me, which is weird because you should think like, oh, genderqueer means that I can do whatever I want. It didn't alleviate any of those stressors for me. I don't know why. So that's part of the reason why I've chosen to start using the term agender. Like, I think it just more accurately encapsulates how I feel. I don't want to call myself by any gender anymore, you know? So broadly, most of the practical aspects of this haven't changed. Like, I'm still transgender, I'm still transmasculine, I'm still non-binary. It's just which label in particular I've chosen to land on. So this is related, absolutely, to my choice of trying out its pronouns. And actually, I have it set as they, them, or its on this little thing that pops up over here. But really, like, I just kind of, I prefer its, I think, and they, them is like, I'm not going to get mad at you for it, but its is definitely, like, way preferable to me right now. And, so, to be totally honest, a lot of it is feels-based, because I think a lot of pronoun preferences are feels-based, and that's okay. That is part of the point. Some people resonate with certain pronouns over others. You know, they have this affiliation with the binary concepts. So a transgender woman feels affirmed by being called she, her for a number of reasons, some of which include, like, being socially categorized with women. Cis women usually use she, her pronouns. Trans women using she, her pronouns is, like, being formally folded into that group in a way. So for me, it's just appealing, and from there, I can speculate as to why. So me speculating as to why its pronouns are appealing to me. They, them pronouns used to feel to me like an absence of gender, which is why I wanted to use am pronouns, because that felt like claiming a separate gender. Now, the climate has changed. We now use this concept of, like, they, them. Weird champ. So I suspect that part of it has to do with there has been a conceptually created third gender that maybe I am feeling some kind of dissonance with. I'm not totally sure. That's speculation. The deeper reasons, like the things that go way back for me that I feel like are influencing this decision. So tiny little trigger warning real quick for childhood abuse. Not going to go into any detail, but I'm letting you know that that's about to be covered very briefly. As a young child, I was in a physically and emotionally abusive environment, and as a result of that, I seem to have matured quite quickly. So as a child, I would be speaking to adults who were very surprised that I was so well-spoken. I had a very big vocabulary because I was a big reader. I came across somewhat alien to these people. I think that experience kind of is the basis of where this starts, because I think that there is a through line between my experience as a child with trauma and my experience as a gender non-normative teenager and adult has largely been being treated by other people as though I am foreign or alien. I was describing to someone on Twitter, I was like, oh, I think I understand fair pronouns now. I didn't used to get it before. And someone came into my mentions being all a dick about it. And I was like, well, the thing is that when people treat you for your entire life like you are some kind of strange other, you kind of start to identify with the strange other. You, at some point, start to embrace your role as, like, not quite normal. Like like you're a changeling, like you are some kind of incomprehensible being walking around in a facsimile of a human suit, and that people, when they look at you, can tell that there's like something operating a human suit, but you are close enough that they aren't willing to call you out on not being human. Does that make sense? It's like a body snatcher situation. Those are kind of some of the influences that I've identified for why I'm more comfortable separating myself, like viewing myself as like an entity that kind of exists outside of gender, if that makes any sense. I also sort of, I guess to a lesser degree, I've sort of always identified with like dragons, and I have said like I'm low-key dragonkin before. My fursona is a dragon, and that's sort of part of it too, that like my feeling of otherness is sort of tied in with that. And then I'm like willing to lean at this time into like, what if I just had a fucking weird aesthetic and played up these sort of ephemeral, capricious aspects? You know, some of the stuff on the Amazon wish list that is linked below is like horns and wings and stuff, because I kind of like the idea of wearing cool shit to play up this like inhuman sort of experience that I have been having for a long time. I also feel that it's worth having a little honorable mention as I am having this discussion. I don't know if any of my viewers are familiar with Jess and Xena from Trans Girl Therapist. I'll put a link to their YouTube down below and maybe up in their cards here. Jess is a friend of mine, really, and she said something about how like gender is play. Like gender doesn't have to be this thing that is taken super seriously. We use it as a form of adult play. I mean, children can do it too, but there are sort of fewer opportunities to engage in play as you become older. That's why they're called sex toys, you know, because that's a form of adult play. And I think gender is an exploratory, fun thing that doesn't have to be a downer. This, you know, sort of following in line with our idea that you don't need dysphoria to be trans. I made a whole video about that a long time ago. You don't need dysphoria to be trans. A lot of people pursue gender euphoria, and getting a gender dysphoria diagnosis is merely the medical establishment's gatekeeping way of assuring that you are committed enough to require hormones. That doesn't have anything to do with whether you identify as trans. You can do that without medically transitioning. I think that definitely helped me. The whole concept of gender as play sort of took some pressure off. And then my exposure to just other more openly gender-fucked people. Like, I've recently been watching Demon Mama streams, and I've been really appreciating Doe, even though it is not actively streaming right now. See, I fuck up sometimes too. It's okay. Doe uses it-its pronouns. I think Demon Mama, like one of her other partners, uses it-it pronouns, and I am acknowledging that I have an aesthetic that also just fits into this. Like, I've known several people who've used it-its pronouns, and like, this is not intentional, okay? It's just an observation. I've observed that there is like a really intense, gothic, sort of demonic, inhuman, sometimes taking an aspect of an animal, like, aspect to it. I was a little goth emo kid when I was younger, and that's part of my acknowledging of my femness now, as an adult, is like getting back to the roots of like goth femme looks, which I really adore. So just to sort of recap, I have always been treated, because I am different from a lot of other people, I have always been treated like I'm different. And I think that it's absolutely natural at a certain point in your life for you to say, okay, if you are going to treat me like I am, if like when people look at me and they're talking to me and they're trying to figure out what gender I am or how old I am, because I think that that's part of it too. I think that it's hard to tell how old I am, and those two factors are unsettling to people. Like, we are programmed to pattern match, okay? I'm not faulting anyone for it, but people consistently are like unsure about me in a way that is like almost like they're ready for me to be dangerous or scary, hard to explain. If you've not had that experience before, if you have had that experience before, please sound off in the comments because it's weird. But at a certain point, it's like, oh, I'm gonna just lean into it. Like, what if I got horns? Or like, what if I pointed my ears? Or what if I got my tongue forked? You know, like, these are all ideas that I've been having lately. Not sure how far any of them are gonna go, but I think it makes sense at a certain point to say, if my entire life people are going to be like, oh, you're a child and I didn't expect you to be that intelligent. So that's like a changeling. That's like where that shit comes from. The autistic child that's what changelings were. Basically, just was like a spiritual way to explain why a baby or child like seemed normal and then suddenly starts acting like an otherworldly being. I haven't been diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I'm also autistic. So, like, these things just all go together. Trauma, autism, gender fuckery, the appearance of androgyny, and, like, my continued tendency to use language that maybe most other people don't use. Again, big fantasy reader when I was a kid. Certain terms just kind of stick with you. And I really like its pronouns, and I really feel so comfortable now identifying as agender. Like, I have no problem now, seemingly, with how I appear on camera and like how I appear to other people. I'm gonna rein in this Minnesota goodbye. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like, you can give me pretty analytics to look at or comments to read. Feel free to hit me up for a one-time donation at PayPal, or you can subscribe either through Patreon or YouTube memberships, since I am trying to push this to something I can do full-time. That would be appreciated. And also subscribe if you want to. And like, if you do subscribe, make sure you check your notification settings, because I'm going to be streaming on here soon, and you will miss it if you don't have the notifications on. Schedule for streams will be coming soon. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have an okay day. Bye. Please head over to patreon.com/Luxander. You can get such rewards as having your name called out at the end of the video, like this. Thank you so much to Jovian F. Gaudreau, butchered, Bean, Amanda B., Heather Clarkson, R. Halverson, Sarah A., Wellington Marcus, Athiette, Michelle Winter, Aldo Espinoza Zuniga, Frozen Summers, Suzanne Maynard, Mr. Atheist, and Elizabeth Bartell.